It's a brief moment.
It's like in old or maybe new, but like rap songs where they have like a random siren because they're so gangster that they've got like cops, going on
There's nothing more
when they're
gangster than
singing.
a cop siren.
Yeah, rap and rap and cops.
But it startled me because you just hear that and I'm like, wait, was I speeding? What was I doing? And then I
Yeah.
looked in the rear view mirror and I'm like, oh, there's nobody behind.
I think it should be illegal to have inaccurate police and paramedic and fire sounds come out of your stereo when you're driving.
I'm kind of surprised that it's not for some. I could see them being like, this is a trademarked siren wail. You can't use it without express permission from the government or something ridiculous like that.
Well, I just think that if the sound happens, your car recognizes it and stops it and says, no,
that requires
that's not
a pretty
real.
Smart car to do.
That's how cars are. Cars are smart now.
Nowadays, yeah. Welcome to the Fleeting Thoughts podcast. We failed to say that in the last episode until like 2 hours in, and then we just decided it didn't really matter.
I don't know if we say it every time, but we do.
I don't think we do.
We do welcome you, and we want you to be happy little listeners,
or angry, or grief-stricken. I don't want to tell people how they should feel.
I want you to be a grief-stricken listener. This is the #1 podcast for grief-stricken listeners. Yeah. FYI.
For widows and widowers alike.
Widowers
don't
alike.
Discriminate. As long as you have a dead spouse, you're welcome here, my friends.
That is one of the reasons why somebody would be grief-stricken. What are some more reasons? Dog dies.
A dog. I was going to say that was my next one. Is a dead
mouse
animal.
Dies. Snake dies.
You lost your job. You went bankrupt.
Yep. Mom dies. Kid dies. 2 kids die. 3 kids die.
Yeah. All 3 of them died in a car accident, and you lived, but you're paralyzed. You're quadriplegic now.
So you can't even kill yourself. You hate yourself, and you kill me.
Yeah.
Why don't you kill me?
We're not going to do that, Jeremy. You have so much left to live for.
I can't.
You can write your memoirs with your mouth, Jeremy.
Oh God. My kids are dead because of me.
It becomes like a best-selling musician, and that's how my kids are dead because of me.
Turns into a meme.
Single.
Mm-hmm. I have learned.
This is a picture of him like just like, weeping and upset, but he can't move at all.
With his little fucking Stephen Hawking chair that helps him talk. I got in a car accident.
I kind of wish that they would have donated Stephen Hawking's really sweet chair to like some other quadriplegic child or MS child. You know what I mean?
Dumb museum somewhere.
Probably is, and that thing's probably state of the art still. It's like useful.
You'd think it'd be in the physics museum, but it's not. It's in the fucking famous quadriplegics museum in fucking Tuscan, fucking Ohio or whatever.
by a big fucking cornfield, and it's hard to see the museum until you're right on top of it.
It's like a tiny little shack that just says, and that's where the real one is.
Yeah.
And then you can sit in it and you can talk with it. It hooks up to your brain. And you become really smart for a minute.
Yeah, just for a minute.
And then I discovered black holes. That's pretty
your
accurate.
Mom's ass.
Yeah, because he's super funny. I had a humor chip put in.
Sounds like he's trying to take a shit at the same time.
I predicted gravitational waves.
I think that a big thing that people need to recognize about Stephen Hawking is how much that guy got laid. Like, he was a poon hound, man. I learned that when I was watching that semi-autobiographical film that came out a few years ago,
Did he realize
he was a player?
Did he get told he was going to lose his like motor functions, and then he was like, I got to get this done quick. I gotta get all the.
Well, I mean, he continued to have sexual relations with people even after.
Did he have like a wife or girlfriends or something?
Yeah, he had like a wife and then a mistress, and then he left his wife for his mistress. And I'm just like,
that's just
dude.
Money.
That's you can't even move, and you're playing the field like this. It's a bold move, man.
It just proves that you just like if you can. like if you don't have the physical prowess, you just need the mental game. You just
You gotta
need
be
that
witty with a
that
robot
sweet.
chair.
Yeah. Oh man, I bet that's all fake bullshit. He just like used it to his advantage, get that sympathy bang.
Yep.
But he was still real smart, I guess. I mean, what if the chair was doing all the thinking?
What if it was? What if
What if
Stephen
it
Hawking was
was?
just a shell and really it was an
Yep.
AI in the chair that was
Yep.
plugged into his fucking brain that was doing everything, and
Elon
he was
Musk
just
invented
this
50 years
fucking
ago.
organic meat sack that just sat there. He was
Yeah,
like the
he was a
mask for the AI.
disguise. Yeah,
Mhm.
he was the mask before masks were cool.
Yeah.
Smoking.
Fuck, man.
That's from the
It's
mask.
kind of a cool plot for a story. Like, needs
Is
some
it?
fine tuning, but
And his reward for being the mask was Poon.
yeah, you were gonna give
And
you all the poon you want.
like when he's not in the chair's like, "How's the Poon lately? Did you get good Poon?"
And he doesn't have to do anything. You know, like he didn't have to do anything. He just laid there because he couldn't move. So the woman had to do all the work. He just got to kick back and just kind of enjoy himself. I
Yeah, that
guess.
seems like an awkward situation. I mean, the handies and
Literally.
yeah, that's a good impression. The handies and the BJs would be like easy for the lady, but the anything else would be very awkward. I guess
Well, I
he
mean,
could get out of the
he just
chair.
land his back and it'd
Yeah,
just be
I
a
was thinking
cowgirl
he had
situation the whole
to
time.
be in the chair the whole time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I'm sure his little arms had a heart. You know, they would like mess up and get in the way sometimes.
Slapping some tits with his dead hands.
That is the fucking Pornhub subcategory I do not want to find on accident.
Now I want to go on a Pornhub and just look up Stephen Hawking and just
Oh, I
see
guarantee
what's out there.
there's something out there for sure.
There's at least one woman out there who has a fetish for like quadriplegic or like really advanced stages, like MS.
Of course, every
sufferers, you know.
Of course. Well, and good for her. Like, what a nice lady.
Yeah.
Like, good job. Thanks.
But
We
also
need
at the
you.
same time, how tough is that? You know, that's a really specific demographic that you're working with. There's
You
not
mean
a lot
how
of fish
tough
in
is
the
it to
sea,
find,
probably.
or how tough is it to enact?
I feel like to find and like how, like if that was your thing, like you could not, your vagina would not moisten itself unless it was a quadriplegic or somebody in the advanced stages of MS. I mean, you'd have to like, there's maybe
Those
a
are-
dating site
I
where
mean,
you can
there's
hook
gotta
up
be.
with them, but
Like
imagine that in your Tinder profile.
you just look
only
up,
interested in quadriplegics.
You look up you look up Make-A-Wish kids that survived. Like where they are now, Make-A-Wish kids.
Hey, that's a business we should start. We should start a Make-A-Wish Whores Foundation where it's just when people have like their final wishes,
for
they just want to get
adults?
laid, or you know what I mean?
It's for adults because Make-A-Wish is for
exactly.
kids. Just
Well,
to be
this is
clear.
for a Make-A-Wish for adults because fuck kids.
Good.
That's stupid. Why do kids are the only ones that get
Don't fuck kids? That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to get this on the air. Trying to get this away
well, I'm
from.
just saying, like, why do kids get the Make-A-Wish? They weren't even around for that long. Who cares? They didn't matter. Just flick them away.
Because
this is a really
people
fucking
don't like
cruel
people don't like
conversation.
watching kids suffer, so they want to give them some happiness before they die.
You know, you can stop the kid suffering by just euthanizing him. It's not a big deal.
That is true. Why don't we? What if that's the kid's wish? What if the kid's like, kill me?
Yeah, exactly.
Life is not worth living. I don't know.
They're
why
fucking
the kid is
bald.
also...
They have no eyebrows. They're fucking just suffering every day. They're sick as hell.
I don't think
just
the
like,
bald and the eyebrows is the problem.
Timmy? What's
You're
your wish? I am bald. Well, not
you do
like
have
bald,
eyebrows.
like not that bald. Like I at
eyebrows.
least have a little fuzz up here, you know.
You look like you might be getting a
fucking.
You look like you
bald.
might have had cancer, like before. You're like in remission.
I am. That's
you're in remission, bald.
That's why I'm making so many cancer jokes right now. I'm in remission.
You're allowed.
So it feels appropriate. That's false. That's categorically false for listeners. I've not had cancer.
I bet they're what are they? They'd be called cripple fuckers, right?
Maybe.
The whores.
Wait. Oh, well. I mean, do you consider somebody with cancer a cripple? I don't think so. Unless
no, I'm talking about the original idea of the paraplegics and the MS people. The ones, the whores for them. They'd be called cripple fuckers.
For the record, when we started recording, I had no idea this is what we were going to be talking about. So that's
didn't?
what I love about this show. This
wrote,
is not planned at all. I had no idea.
I have like a thing.
Oh, I didn't see your whiteboard back there with all the string attached to it.
Cripple fuckers, paraplegics, make a wish, make sure not to talk about fucking kids. I got a strict. I'm leading you. I'm manipulating you, Janet. You don't even realize I'm using voice.
What if the Make-A-Wish kid, right? He's like 13, 14. So he's puberty age. What if his final wish was he wanted to fuck a prostitute? Like, do
That's not
they
going to
follow
happen.
through with that?
No,
It's his
of course
final
not.
wish.
It's not make fucking any demand you want and we'll spend money and make it happen. It's make a fucking reasonable request and we'll see what we can do and we might give you a couple options.
It seems like a reasonable request for me, in so much like if you have approval from the parents and the child that have intercourse with an adult woman.
Well, if we were in Europe, maybe, but this is America, dog.
This is America. You got to go to the deep south if you want that kind of action.
No, in the
you
deep
just gotta
south,
be like, okay, kid, we got to fly you out to Georgia, so it's not so weird.
No, they have worse. They have like more religion in the South, so they'd be even that you'd want to take them to San Francisco immediately.
Oh, you think they're more liberal? I was just thinking like fucking.
Of course, sex is completely like they teach abstinence in the South still. They're not going to be like, oh yeah,
it's the cool. youngest age of consent.
Oh, that's not what you're talking about consent. But that's for like marriage, I think.
Oh, okay.
Like you still have to be a certain age to have sex with a certain age. But there might be different laws. I'm just assuming
that if the state has the lowest age of consent, they're probably more on board with it.
You're going to get in trouble for Googling that for certain.
The lowest state age of consent in the United States is 16. And then it's got to be like in Alabama, Alaska, a lot of states actually. Like half the fucking states, that's the age of consent. It's kind of nuts.
Well, in all of England and probably a lot of Europe, it's 16. Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but people become somewhat sexually capable when they're younger than 18.
Oh, yeah.
Although making decisions is a bit of an issue. I'm out here
looking out for the 14-year-old Make-A-Wish kid who just wants to get laid before he dies.
It is a tricky situation, but he doesn't have to have sex with like a 35-year-old hooker. Why not just like find a 16-year-old hooker?
Well, but you can't launch your Make-A-Wish foundation like
close to MAGA
like
situations.
Sex trafficking scheme. I mean, if you can't run that organization with 16-year-olds. That's illegal as fuck.
I know.
So they would have to be 18, but then you run into the weird thing where like the 14-year-old and 18-year-old hooking up.
You're talking about some underground shit.
I am, but I want to find a way to make it legitimate. Why are we so like? That's why I was saying you would have to as long as the parents of the Make-A-Wish kid are consenting to him being able to do this, and then it's a part of a legal party, like an 18-year-old Make-A-Wish whore. All the paperwork signed and all that. I'm talking about a legitimate business here.
I get what you're talking about.
I'm not saying, hey, let's go over to Thailand and see what we can find.
Why aren't you saying that?
Might be easier, actually.
Yeah, actually, why don't we just move to Thailand and then not deal with the kids?
We'll just forget about the Make-A-Wish kid in the States. Just go. Whoops.
What if, ironically, the kid gives the hooker AIDS instead of the other way around? Like they're so worried about it. But
maybe this is an opportunity for the prostitutes with AIDS to just be able to be free and not worry about it, because like they're just giving AIDS to a kid that's a part of the Make-A-Wish. Like, it's not a big deal. He's dying anyway. You know what I mean? Like, what if you were a professional whore at the top of her game or his game? I mean, we don't have to be gender specific here. And then, you got AIDS, so then you're kind of out of the game, right? It really limits your repertoire of customers. So then Make-A-Wish comes to you and they're like, hey, this kid's going to be dead in 6 months. So if you give him AIDS, no biggie. Bam. Whole new opportunities lay before you.
Everyone has AIDS.
I'm saying this is a way that we can recycle used up whores. Is basically, we should reduce, reuse, recycle, whether it's human beings or plastic.
But dudes have AIDS and you can live with AIDS. And so the whores with AIDS just find dudes with AIDS. There's got to be a network for that.
Yeah, it's AIDS-RS.
It's like herpes.com.
Oh, okay.
We have let's all get herpes, or we already have herpes.com.
Herpes in your purples?
It's called matchmyherpes.com.
Oh, okay.
It's called okay, we both have herpes.com. It's called
and
plenty of herpes.com.
You're able to sync up your flare-up cycles with your partner. So it's like, oh, we're both flared up right now. We won't.
Well, I think that would naturally occur.
Oh, okay. Is it like a menstrual cycle? Long enough?
That's what I'm getting.
Sort of sync up.
Obviously, that's got to be the case. Well, like you start scratching, she starts scratching, we all start scratching. That's one of the mottos.
That's the motto beneath the banner of the website.
It's
you start scratching, she starts scratching, we start scratching.
Yeah, scratch with us.
Mm-hmm.
Scratch together.
Sounds like you're like a part of a flea farm. You're just breeding fleas. Like, hey,
that doesn't
you
sound that
scratch, we
far off.
scratch, we'll help you scratch.
That would be the crabs farm.
Oh, okay.
We have a different farm for that.
Which those things are horrifying because when you actually look at them, they actually
they?
look like little crabs, man. Pretty
Well, I
scary
think they
stuff.
are, under the sea. Under the sea.
The sea's your pubes. They're
Right?
definitely
That's a
under
crab.
there.
Are they all Cajun? Like the isn't that guy Cajun? Or is he what is he? Jamaican? He's Jamaican.
Jamaican. Oh, are you
Right?
actually talking about the lobster and the Little Mermaid? Okay. What's his name?
He's a
Fred or something?
lobster? I thought he's a crab.
Is he crab? Oh, okay.
Pretty
He's
sure
one
he's
of
a
the
crab.
crustacean fucking shell people.
He's not a people, but okay. Your biology
they're people in the
information
Disney. He's got like a personality, he has thoughts and dreams and goals and stuff. So I think you could classify him as a crustacean
what the
shell
fuck
person.
what was his goals?
To keep Ariel from getting fucking human legs.
No, I think he was like on board. He was like just her. He was like
Flander,
Jiminy Cricket
or whatever, the fish guy, the yellow one. I thought he was on board, but then the red guy's like, no, don't disobey your dad.
What was the yellow fish?
Wasn't his name like Flounders or
Flounder? Yeah, there was a flounder. Okay. Yeah,
I think that was his name. What was the crab's name? I can't fucking remember.
Gaston? No, that's the other movie. His name was Under the Sea. Jamaican crab guy. Human guy. Under the sea, man.
Was it Sebastian? Sebastian
the
I
think
it was Sebastian.
We could look it up, but
very common Jamaican name, by the way, Sebastian.
Hello, my name's Sebastian. I'm Jamaican. Hey, you ever heard somebody who's from Jamaica? That's me.
Starting off
Sebastian
from the UK, and then
when he sings, he's like, "Yeah, man, that's great, man. But that's only when I sing. Otherwise, I talk like this."
Right.
That's totally
well.
normal.
I mean, there's a lot of people from the
Sebastian.
UK when they sing, they have like an American accent. You know, they drop their native accent when they're singing. So
yeah, it would be awkward to have people singing like a fucking Cockney fucking loser.
Little Mermaid crab guy. What was his name? Yeah, it was Sebastian. Sebastian the crab.
Sebastian the Crabshin.
The first article that pops up is how the guy who voiced him is dead at 74. He died in last May.
Oh, that's sad.
Actor Samuel E. Wright.
This episode is dedicated to Sebastian the Crabman.
Yeah, man.
Is he a black guy with dreads? Because that's what I would imagine. Since he's Jamaican. He's probably a white guy. I'm doing
he's just a plain old white guy, but
plain old. You fucking racist fuck.
It's not racist. Anyone's talking about white people.
Yeah. Whatever.
Oh, he was black. Okay, right on.
Under the sea.
He was a black man. Or if you're Joe Rogan, he was a shade of brown man.
Well, that's not inaccurate. Is that what he's calling people? You know what's funny?
Him and Jordan Peterson are of course in hot water because when are they not?
But isn't that their job?
Yeah, they were like recently having a conversation about race, and Joe Rogan said that they were talking about how black people in America shouldn't really call themselves black because they're really just different shades of brown. And then like Joe Rogan made a comment about how like you can't really call yourself black unless you're from the darkest parts of Africa where they don't really wear clothes. And so of course that's really exploded into a big kerfuffle.
Because we should all listen, like care, like what the fuck. I love people, man. I've been watching like I'll go back and forth and I'll watch like the Daily Show and I'll watch clips from Trevor Noah and other people.
I love the Daily Show. I watch it on YouTube all the time. It's just it's funny and very well like. But
then I'll go and watch watch Ben Shapiro, and then I'll watch. I've been watching some Bill Maher. Real time with Bill Maher, and then because he's liberal but different, and then
he's like an old liberal, where he's like not on board with the more extreme liberalism of the current
and
generation.
then I'll watch like Matt Walsh, who's like weird, like crazy conservative, and then and I just go back and forth, and then I realized that they're just gossip. They're just gossip.
Oh yeah.
They're just I mean, well, Bill Maher's got his own little like he's
kind of like a talk show.
He's more like Ben Shapiro in that it's a lot of like political philosophy as well, but then there's these reaction videos, especially on YouTube and stuff, and it's like you're just a drama queen. You're just you're just going around like trying to find stuff to create content that like gives you a chance to virtue signal, even though you're against virtue signaling.
Yeah, I think that's why I like the Daily Show, because it's like they just tell you the news, but then they just poke fun at it and they have some fun and then they move on. Like I don't. It doesn't seem
well,
like
it's exceptionally liberal if you are like if you're
yeah.
sensitive to that topic.
Mhm.
Because I watch it and I'm like, oh, that's like a totally different, like their take on Joe Rogan is like much more like Joe Rogan's doing dumb shit, whereas you watch like Ben Shapiro's version of Joe Rogan and he's like, oh, Joe Rogan's the man and he's speaking the truth.
Oh well,
So it
Trevor, I
just
watched a
depends.
thing that
Oh,
Trevor
I did
Noah did
watch.
the other day,
I bet
where
I
his
watched
was
that
pretty
too.
balanced. He was like, I
loved
see
that.
both
Yeah.
sides of it. Like,
Well, he was just like, why are we so like Joe Rogan is like, he says when he's wrong, he has people on that he doesn't really like he's yeah, I like that. I watched that too. Yeah.
But that's such a hard
whatever.
It's a hard line to toe. You're either gonna be on one side or the other. You can't. It's hard to be in the middle these
Well,
days because
Joe
people
Rogan's
want you to
always
like be in an
been all
uproar.
over the place. He's always
Yeah.
been like, I want to talk to anybody and everybody and talk to, all sorts of people and people who believe all sorts of weird shit.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny. I think the Neil Young thing is really funny too. Like Spotify is the gatekeeper, and if you're on Spotify, you're like pro Joe Rogan or something. It's just weird. Like Neil Young was like, hey, it's either me or him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's you can do that. I just don't think I don't think you're going to accomplish what you think you're going to accomplish.
Yeah. I mean, in Neil Young's case, I mean, he still owns the rights to all of his stuff. So it's like, I mean, hey, if you want to take all your stuff off here, more power to you. Yeah. I mean, even Spotify was like, hey, we respect your decision. We hope you'll come back at some point.
Well,
but there's like a lot of artists that are upset because it's like they want to sort of follow his example, but they don't own the rights to their music. Their record label does, so they have really no say in where their music is streamed from. So
no say.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I guess if you're trying to put your money where your mouth is, kind of thing, where you're like really opposed to the Joe Rogan episode and you want to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do about it, then more power to you.
I don't know. Like, I don't really.
The only way you can really make any kind of vote in this country is with your wallet, essentially, or your product. So, because I mean, you can whine and bitch all you want, but if you just turn around and continue to give Spotify money every month, or whatever, rely on them to get your music out, then maybe you shouldn't say anything. So, I applaud Neil Young for actually following through and pulling his music off. Whether it's the right decision or not is totally up to him. I mean, I don't really care.
It's almost like the term right and wrong doesn't apply to Spotify. Like everything doesn't have to be so morally weighted, in my opinion.
I think the unfortunate thing is it's like, it seems like what people really want in this Spotify thing with Joe Rogan is either the really extreme people want him like shut down, like pull those episodes off. And then I feel like the slightly more reasonable people are like, well, why don't we you guys should put like an advisory before the episode saying, hey, they're going to talk about COVID and there's some misinformation. But the reality is like, nobody can trust anybody else to just think for themselves. You know what I mean?
Why do we have to do anything?
Why do we need to have an advisory? Why can't you just let the person listen to the conversation and make up their own mind? Like, oh yeah, this sounds fucking batshit crazy. Or, oh yeah, this actually, I kind of see where they're coming from. I sort of agree with this. It's like, we can't trust people to just like cultivate their own thoughts, so we got to feel like we have to warn them or protect them from it. And it's like, they're not hurting anything. Like, I didn't agree with what they were talking about in the COVID episode, but I'm not gonna get a big fucking uproar over it.
I'm not really interested in hearing people's opinions on COVID anymore.
Yeah, I just listened to like some clips from it, like some 10-minute things, just to hear what did they say that people are so freaked out about. Or like, I honestly am not surprised. I'm surprised that more people aren't upset about the conversation him and Jordan Peterson had about race, just because race is such a touchy.
I'm sure they're way upset about it, but
I was listening to that and I'm like, this is a bold. It's easier for like you and I to make jokes about race or talk about more risque things like that, only because our audience is very minuscule. Joe Rogan has like 11 million people that listen to every episode, so it's like I feel like you have to sort of be more cognizant about what you're talking about when you have that many people listening.
I don't think so. I think you should just be honest. I
Well, and
think
that's why
free
his show is
speech.
so popular, is because
Yeah,
he's
it's what
just
I
honest.
mean, because you can be all fucking PC and worried about what people think, but then you're not being honest. And I'd rather hear your crazy shit than have you have it in like behind the scenes. If you're
Yeah.
going to be a person of influence or whatever, you're going to put yourself out there. I mean, everybody filters themselves to some degree, but when you're Joe Rogan, you don't really need to filter yourself that much. You can say what you think, but you should also be able to change your mind and have other information come in that disputes you, and that's part of the game. But it's like worrying about misinformation is stupid, in my opinion. Worrying about like government mandated propaganda that shuts people down is way more troubling than somebody being open and honest on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody shutting down Joe Rogan through the power of the government, then it's like, well, what now? I really care what Joe Rogan is saying, but they're not doing that. And we should just let people fucking talk.
Yeah.
I think it's way First Amendment and whatever platform allows for it the most is I don't see a problem with it at all. People have crazy ideas all the time, and that's fine. It's fine. It doesn't really. I don't know what it does. Like, even if somebody's like so conservative that they're like, you got to vote for the next conservative president. People are going to do it anyway. Like, what exactly are they convincing people of? You know what I mean? What are people afraid Joe Rogan is going to convince people of? Most people are already vaccinated in America. What are they worried about?
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's going to unvaccinate the fucking people? It's not possible. Not
Well,
everybody's listening to Joe
we're
Rogan.
already
11 million is not 300 million people.
No, yeah. Well, and we're already, and like, as far as the pandemic, we're already at the point where people are where they're at with it. You know what I mean? I don't think you're not gonna convince somebody that doesn't think it's a big deal that it is a big deal, and vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, we've been living with it for like 2 years, so
It's
you
like
have a better
herpes.
chance of convincing people, to change their religious affiliation. You might be able to, but it's a very fucking slim chance. So, yeah, I don't know. We just exist in a world where everything is an extreme. If you say something that like a group of people doesn't like, they want you shut down and silenced, instead of just saying, well, I don't agree at all with that, but I'm gonna just carry on with my day and not worry about it, not pay
Yeah,
attention to
for
it.
sure.
Because
Well, it
sometimes, like,
seems like it, but
had people like not said, had people not made a big deal about the COVID misinformation that they are making this big deal about, it would have just moved on. Like, nobody would have thought about it. Like, Joe Rogan has like how many fucking episodes come out every week? Like, it would have just been a conversation that however many million people listen to, and then he would have just moved on to the next one. But then it blew up into this big thing, and now all you're doing is just giving him free advertisement and promotion by saying all this crazy shit. Like, I wonder how many people went and listened to the episode just because of like this huge deal that they made out of it. All you're doing is actually drawing attention to it, when it's the kind of thing that you wouldn't want to draw attention to if you're so worried about
yeah,
it.
it's
Like,
kind
if
of
you're worried
like,
about the misinformation, then don't promote it to have more people listen to the misinformation. It's a
yeah, I
weird
don't
thing.
know.
Some of this shit, it's like I've never even heard of it until people were complaining about it. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know this was like a big deal.
It's like having an emergency on the other side of the world and everyone going, pay attention to this. And you're like, oh, does that matter? Does that? And then you go, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect me. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That tsunami that killed a bunch of people over in Malaysia. It's sad to hear about, but I don't why should I put any effort into worrying about it? I had
Yeah.
nothing
What
to
are you
do
going
with
to go
it.
do
I
about it?
can't
You going to go stop it with your fucking Aquaman powers?
After it already happened. I can't do anything
Yeah.
about it.
Okay. Well, then get your time manipulating machine out and go back in
My
time and stop
little
that shit from happening.
spinny thing from Harry
Yeah.
Potter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to. I don't want to save the world.
It's the internet, man.
I can't do it.
Everybody's an armchair fucking activist these days.
That's a good name.
Unless you're Neil
like
Young, and then
before.
you fucking pull your music off and give it to Amazon instead.
And then it has no effect on anything.
There's also this brings up the interesting quandary of how you can't really be a moral person that participates in capitalism, because it's like, let's say you hate Spotify because of the misinformation in Joe Rogan and blah blah blah. So then you take your music and then you take it over to Amazon, who fucking barely pays their employees and like has them pissing in water bottles and shit while they're fucking working in these packaging facilities. How's that moralistically better? There's like no, you can't be a moral person and participate in any of these fucking corporations because they are all doing some weird amoral shit. So that doesn't even touch on, you can't even like complain about companies if any of them make shit in China, because a lot of our products are being made by fucking slave labor essentially in China right now. So don't try to be moral and then look at things on your iPhone or your fucking whatever electronic device you're using, because you're not as moral as you like to think you are.
It's a very interesting argument. That's way too much content there I'm not prepared to have that.
We don't have to.
I can't agree with you, but I also don't want to not agree with you. And I also don't want to agree with you, and I don't want to not agree with you.
Well, I mean, it comes down to like there's like people have to accept, I think, that there's just some amorality that we're all a part of, period. And then it just boils down to what you really are doing in your day-to-day life.
You're talking
really
about like
interacting
you're
with,
talking
but
about kind of indirect morality. You're not
Yeah.
talking about individual behaviors that are in and of themselves immoral. You're talking about like tacit compliance with a system that you
Yeah.
kind of don't
Well, I
have
just
a choice
like
about.
I'm
Like
only
I don't think you have a choice to like I mean you have a choice to use Amazon, but at this point like they're already embedded in the culture and in the economy. You have which I don't know if you really have that many options to just not participate in capitalism, just like you don't have a big option to not participate in the government, like because of taxes. So I think you have more choice to participate in cooperate like capitalistic endeavors. Like you obviously like could just never support anything Amazon does, but the problem is that Amazon actually does things that you don't know about. Like they probably own companies that you're supporting that you didn't know. So should you just kill yourself because all these other people are doing things that are maybe could be looked at amorally, but are probably more moral than they were in the past? Because there's a lot of subjectivity to it.
Well, I just brought it up in the specific example of Neil Young because he took his music off of Spotify and then just transitioned it over to Amazon like it was a big moral,
But it is
like,
if you think
hey, I did
that
this
Joe
great thing.
Rogan's information is way worse than anything Amazon's ever done. Because you think that words are that powerful.
I guess.
Then it's just a lesser evil argument.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's really just like a boycott. It doesn't matter where he goes as long as Spotify isn't benefiting and people don't want to be on Spotify now or something like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But, famous people, rich people, they all have their little ways of making moral impact. A lot of them, go out of their way because they're famous and they can try to help in whatever way they think is good. But I don't know.
Interesting times.
Yeah, it seems like it. It seems like it's weird if you're paying attention. And
yeah, try not to.
Pretty normal if you're not.
Yeah, not having social media has helped me a lot with just not having a lot of this shit in my purview. I only find out about it usually because I'm like listening to a podcast and they'll start talking about something like, wait, what's going on? Like, what's happening?
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. I don't know how we got into that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't matter. What was that?
That's Dizzy telling me that her water bowl's empty and she wants more water.
Do you need to get your doggy some Lagua?
Yeah, you just got to vamp for a second. Let me go fill up her water real fast.
Okay. Channing is going to run off to feed his dog or water him or something, pour water all over it, waterboard it or something like that. But I'll use this opportunity to plug my website, joesnotesblog.com. I just put out a a new photo blog. I took some pictures of some birds and some coyotes at the park, and I thought it was pretty good. And then also, if you want to email us, go to email fleetingthoughtspodcast@gmail.com, and you can send us your questions, comments about the shows. You can send us your problems, and we'll try to give you advice. And that's about all I've got for you. Here's Channing. He's back.
I'm back.
Yay.
If I didn't fill up her water bowl, she would be doing that every like fucking 30 seconds.
Well,
She's very demanding when she runs out of water. She just picks up her water bowl and then just kind of like bangs it against the wall.
She's smart and knows how to communicate what she needs.
Yes, she is.
She knows how to communicate her needs better than most ladies.
Mm-hmm. If she was like most ladies, she would make that sound. Then you'd go to get the water bowl, and she'd pick it back up in her mouth and kind of walk off with it. And you're like, "Do you want water or not? Like, what's going on?"
And then she'd be like,
and then she'd set it down, and you go to pick it up, and she'd just take it again. You're like, "What the fuck?"
You should want to give me water before I ask. You should know before I know. Before
the fact
I
that
know.
I had to ask is the problem here.
Ugh, ladies, am I right?
Am I right, fellas?
Am I right? So let's get into our meaty topic.
Our meaty topic.
Let's get into some meat.
It's like
we've already
meat lovers pizza.
We've already brought it to what? Meat lovers, you're just hungry.
No, I just had dinner. I had some sushi and some chicken pot stickers from Whole Foods. I was grocery shopping, and then I just bought some shit out of the deli real fast for dinner.
Nice.
It's good.
Yeah, I went to Wendy's because I was just
kind of like fucking amoral piece of shit. You want to find out what fucking Wendy's does? No, they kill animals for their meat.
Yeah, I'm glad with that. I'm glad about that. I want more of that. I want more animals to die, and I want more people to eat animals. Not that there needs to be much more going on there. Plenty of people eat animals. So you texted me. Calm down. You texted me earlier today, and you said, "Do you feel as if you know who you are?" And I was like, well, that's pretty deep there, Channing, while I'm trying to do my fucking laundry and fucking check my underwear for stains, whether or not I need to put them in there. That's
wait. Just pause that real fast. So there's no stains in your underwear. Do you not wash them?
I just stick it in my face and smell it. And I'm like, well, I only wore it like twice.
Yeah.
No, underwear once a day. I get a new one every day, maybe two. Good. Depending on the day.
How sweaty you get. Yeah.
I don't get that gross.
How explosive your fucking morning constitution was. Sometimes you got to change underwear.
Try to take a good shit before I shower, but it's not always possible.
I fucking hate shitting right after I shower. It sort of ruins the whole idea of a shower at that point.
It does. It does ruin the idea of a shower.
Unless you have a bidet, then you can just kind of spray your butthole out and pretend like everything's okay.
Bidet sounds like something Australian would say. Bidet, mate. Right
over there.
Bidet? You need a bidet? Have a bidet.
Well, Joe, you told me that you spent an hour-long walk contemplating your very existence.
I meditated on it
and tried to decide whether or not you feel like you know who you are.
Yeah.
It's and tell us
complex. Well, I got.
What did you find in your meditations? What did you discover?
Well, I started by trying to understand the question, right? Like, what does it mean to know who you are? Like, in relation to what? Like, are you talking about do I know who I am biologically? Like, categorically? Like, scientifically?
Here's the thing, right? Isn't your interpretation of the question almost part of who you are, right? Like, part of who you are is how you interpret that very question. It
signifies certain aspects of your intelligence and of your culture, but just the asking of it also tells you something. So it's like, that's more of a question of grammar or something. But Yeah, obviously the answer matters, but there's a million ways to come at the question. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you mean how am I perceived by others, and can I recognize those things? Like who am I to other people, or who am I to my community? Who am I to my work? Who am I? Are there different versions of you depending on the circumstance? I was listening to Jordan Peterson talk about there was a clip about he was talking about Jungian perceptions Jungian concepts related to identity. And there's like the real you, and then there's the persona that you adopt and that you create habits around to be able to live in society. So there's the persona that you put out to the world, that is kind of like an acceptable behavior set. That way you can like interact with people and get along and have friends and have jobs and have mates, and you're adopting a sort of a facade. And then there's the real you, which is the you that would be unfiltered, that would be maybe more emotional, maybe more rage filled in certain situations, or maybe more sexual, or maybe more whatever. But I guess part of knowing yourself would be knowing when you're putting on a facade, or when you're kind of putting on airs for people, and when you're not. And are you ever actually capable of being this kind of platonic true self, which I'm skeptical of. But I also think that you absolutely have like dueling, things going on when you're living your life. You have different different motivations and consequences that you're dealing with when you make decisions in your head, and that's part of who you are as well, like the way that you make decisions. So yeah, I mean, I'm a man.
There
Is
you
that
go. It's a
good?
good start, right? Yeah.
I'm a human.
I'm a
I'm in the
human man.
species Homo erectus. I think that in and of itself is probably a unifying thing, that we can all agree that we're all in this similar species that's been
Mm-hmm.
around a few 100,000 years, if you're believing in science related to speciation and humanity. I was born with an XY chromosome at the end of my sequence. If you were to line them all up, I think you have 23 chromosomes.
I have to Google fact check it. I don't know.
Something around there. And that means that I have a wiener, which is
You have 23 pairs of chromosomes. That's correct. So
so I was
46 total.
right, the pairs.
Mm-hmm.
But when they I think they must have related qualities to pair them up for some reason.
Yeah, it's just the 23rd pair of chromosomes is the sex chromosomes. So, as you were saying, your final pair is an XY.
It's the final chromosome.
He's got a schlong, and it's a big ding dong.
What other identifying markers? Okay. So then I also started thinking about like how I compare to other people, right? So like I'm a below average height. I think that this is maybe not accurate, but I think I have a slightly above average IQ. That's not saying very much. I know. I think that as I've gotten older, I have grown to be less interested in this kind of who am I, as opposed to what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like it used to be a little bit more like I used to be very like I didn't have a lot of self-esteem and confidence and experience, so I genuinely like had no idea like how I compared to other people, or like what I should be doing with my life. And as I've gotten older and I've become more mature, by evidence by the beginning half an hour of this conversation,
Very mature.
Very mature.
Very mature, very high IQs.
Not very high. That is not what I said. I said above average. I said below average when it came to other things.
Okay.
What else? I've become less interested in the kind of relentless introspection, and more just trying to figure out like what to do tomorrow, like what to do next week. What do I want to do with this year? What do I want to do with my job, my career? It's been much more future oriented and less past oriented, which a lot of times when you're discussing who you are, you're talking about your past. What have you done in the past? Who your family is in the past? What's your ancestry? What's your ethnicity? What's your what do you look like? Like those are all things that like you can't do anything really about because they're in the past, or they're kind of set by your birth. And I've become much more interested in what I'm doing today or tomorrow. And so that gets me a little bit less self-conscious than I used to be. It made me think of the know thyself kind of thing that I think it was Socrates or someone, maybe Descartes, somebody said, like one of the most important things you can do as a human is to like know thyself. And I was thinking like, I don't know if that's actually that big of a deal. I don't know. I mean, maybe you, if you have no conception of like who you are, you're kind of fucking up, but it might be more important to know like how to be good, like rather than knowing, I guess to know thyself is to like compare yourself to that ideal person. So there's also like, if like know thyself compared to what? Does that make sense? Like, or is it just admitting things that you've done, which is part of knowing who you are? Like without any, like just objectively, in this scenario, I did this and that's just who I am. I did that. I drove way too fast and could have gotten a really bad accident, or I did get in a really bad accident. That's who I am. I am what I've done, and that's it.
Well, it's part of who you are, right? Your actions.
It depends on how you want to define identity and how you want to like, it's probably really easy to do that to other people, but it's probably more difficult to do that for yourself. Like you can easily judge people based on their deeds when it's not you, but when it's you, you have all these justifications and excuses and reasons for the things you did. You were in a hurry, blah blah blah. And but it is still technically part of your identity on a like exact level, like objectively you did that. What do you think?
I think that like the idea of like in your example of, let's say you were in a hurry and you ran a stop sign. So objectively you ran a stop sign. But part of who you are would be the reasoning and the decision making that led you to doing that, right? Because like if you were a more patient person, you would have stopped. But you were in a hurry. Why were you in a hurry? Were you just in a hurry because you just are too impatient to stop? Are you in a hurry because your wife is in the seat next to you with her water broke and you're trying to get to the hospital? I mean, it's like, there's like a balance to all the decisions we make, but I feel like every little minute decision is a factor into who you are. Some people are just impatient assholes, and so they just don't think that the rules should apply to them in certain situations, or they think that they're going to get away with it, so they just do it. Other people are hesitant or more defensive, and so they'll stop, or they won't make such rash decisions. And I don't think any of it's necessarily, I guess, like right or wrong. I mean, it's right or wrong in the eyes of like legality, and there's some right or wrong and moral consequences of your decisions, but like objectively, it's just a decision that you made, and then there's cause and effect based around that. But like when I when I was thinking about that question after I asked you about it, because it was randomly something I was thinking about. It was a slow day at work, so my mind was just wandering. And I was thinking, I was like, oh, I guess like you could start with the baseline facts, kind of like you did. You're like, I am a human, I'm a Homo sapien on the planet Earth. I am, you know,
I
I
said
have the
erect,
XY
erect,
chromosome, etc. But then I was like, I
erectus.
don't like when I think about who am I or trying to like understand
Mhm.
myself, I don't think about any of that. Because like for me, I think, and I think this is also again part of like how you define who you are is like what matters to you when you're trying to answer that question. Like, because there is the logical scientific answer to who you are. But then I was thinking, I was like, but none of that stuff's ever really mattered to me. I think it mattered to me more when I was younger. Like, I feel like over the years, I've become more comfortable with myself because you start to like accept who you are and not and worry less. At least for me, I worried less about what other people have thought about me. Um, like an example, I guess would be, I remember when I was a kid, it was like a big insult and it was a big deal if and this was probably like when I was like in sixth grade, if people called you gay, right? Like you did something like, oh,
Mhm.
you're gay, you're a fag, whatever. And I remember it used to really upset me because I was like, I am not gay. Like I have no interest in men sexually. I'm not gay. Like, and it used to frustrate me because it's like, that's not who I am. I don't want people to think of that about me. And then now it's like, as I've gotten older, it's like I know I know what my sexuality is, and I don't. It doesn't bother me if somebody thought otherwise because it's like I know the fact, the irrefutable fact of myself and my sexual preferences. And then it also frees me to be able, because I is part of my who I am is I'm somebody who deals with a lot of things through joking around. Like if I had cancer, I would just be making cancer jokes left and right because it's like my coping mechanism for most things is just to fucking make light of it. Otherwise it'd probably destroy me. So I was thinking, I was like, when people like say I'm gay or if like I don't mind, I'll act effeminate to people like, oh, stop it, you're ridiculous. And it's like those are things I would not have done as a younger person because it was so uncomfortable and not wanting people to think that I was a homosexual or a fag or what, whatever fucking label you want to throw on it. But now it's like I don't care, whatever. Like I'm married, I have a wife, like
But
who
who's going
cares?
around nowadays calling you a homosexual? It doesn't
Well,
even
no,
make
not really so
sense.
much anymore. But it's like I feel like I used to not joke around, or I would feel uncomfortable just doing stupid shit like that because I was worried it would cause people to think about me. Um, so it's like as I've gotten older, as I think as part of learning who you are is also just becoming comfortable with who you are. You're not really so much worried about what people think about you because you know who you are, right? But I feel like when we're all growing up, we're all trying to figure out who we are, so we're much more insecure in what that answer might be. And like for I feel like I spent most of especially my early 20s like trying to figure out who the fuck I am. Like I had this like idyllic version of myself, and then there's like the version of yourself that you really are. And I think it's multiple personas, kind of like you were talking about the Jordan Peterson. There's the you that you present to the world. There's the real you that's you when you're alone and you don't think anybody's watching. Then there's the idyllic you, like the you that you aspire to be. Um, and I think what I was challenged with a lot when I was younger was the balance of being myself and my idyllic self. Um, it's like you really want to aspire to be all these things, and so you like for me, I would really beat myself up when I didn't feel like I was following through on the idyllic version of myself instead of recognizing that I am also just being myself in the pursuit of being my idyllic self. It's fucking weird. It's like an inception of you. Um, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm trying to remember where I'm sort of going with this, but I think as I've gotten older, it like certain things have stuck and I just recognize like, okay, this is who I am. I'm somebody who jokes in stressful situations. I'm a writer. I'm a runner. I'm probably like I'm not the idyllic version of myself in terms of I'm not like uh, a big best-selling author. Like that's the idyllic version of myself is a very well-known and respected and renowned writer of fucking literature. But that's,
Fucking literature
it's my
bullshit.
idyllic version of myself, sure. But then you have to learn to look at yourself objectively, like, I'm not that, but I am this.
and it's close, but and I could work on that and keep striving. But I feel like that's why so many people are just so, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like sometimes people get so hung up on trying to label themselves and give themselves titles instead of just being themselves. Like they're so worried about identifying by their race and their gender and their sexual orientation and all these things. And it's like, but for me, and it's just my own perception, but it's like none of that stuff matters to me. I don't care, what somebody's race or sexual orientation or gender is. I'm just like, are you nice to me? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's like what skills do you provide? What do you have to offer? How do you present yourself? And I think like physical appearance is something I've also learned to just accept about myself as well, right? Because like you said, your physical appearance is not really something that you can do much about. Your height is not something you can do much about. You could wear fucking platform shoes to make yourself present as taller than you really are, but like your face, there's not much you can do with it. You can put some makeup on it, you can change your hair. I mean, there's like small things you can do to
Like you talking about my face.
But it's like
what's wrong with my face?
The structure of like your skull
my
and your facial features, there's nothing you can do about that. So it's like, there's people that get really hung up on their physical appearance and want to change it. And it's like, and that's something that I struggled with when I was younger too, because I never thought that I was a very like attractive, typical like human male. I remember like kids calling me ugly when I was a kid, and that's like a hard thing to come to terms with when you're a kid, because everybody has that idyllic version of themselves that's like the chiseled jaw, fucking really attractive dude, but most of us are not that, unfortunately. So it's like learning to accept that about yourself, or like when you start balding at a young age. I mean, you can try to do some stuff, but I can't.
What if you're oh man, your camera gave
that's
up
how bad
you,
that's how bad my physical appearance is. The camera
man,
turns off.
Can you drop out and then
yeah, I'll drop out and join back in. Hold on one sec.
It should let you join back in. Unfortunately, we're having
technical difficulty,
Channing Corn difficulties. So it'll just take a second to get Channing back on. We're just talking about how you identify yourself and how you deal with, I guess, insecurities and things related to like who you are. Your, I guess it really depends on from what direction are you asking, like compared to like how people see you in the world, or how people. Let me send him another invite just to make sure he can get back on. So who are you? Who are you? I don't know who I am.
There we go.
Yeah, I sent you another invite.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, it doesn't let me, like, it's like, oh, start a video with this person, and I was like, I don't want to do that because then it's gonna fucking end the other recording and then start another one, and it's a whole fucking thing. So
yeah, I think mine will probably have two versions of you because it's still recording. Did it ask you to be recorded when you just got back on?
When I joined in, it just said recording in progress. So.
Okay, good. So hopefully it just keeps going. It's gonna get a little weird on the edit and in the video, but it's, it said Channing Corn, and that's fun. ... But
anyway, this gave me a second to reset my thoughts because I was like, I don't know where I was going again. So I think to answer the question, right, like, who do you think you know who you are? Who are you? I feel like the answer is also sort of based around your what's important to you, right? Like, I feel like if you're a very scientific, logical person, that's the kind of answer that you're going to deliver.
What kind of
for
answer?
you, I feel like you're a more logical person. So you started your answer by stating very logical, factual things about yourself, right? And then you sort of grew and elaborated from there. So I feel like for some people, if you asked them that question, they would start with, well, I'm a bisexual African-American hermaphrodite, like
some people. You mean like that one human being in the entire fucking US? Yeah. Who's that?
But I think other people would be like, like, I feel like if
I'm a doctor. I'm a
I think my
lover.
initial answer to people would be like, if they're like, who are
I'm a
you? I'd be like,
mother.
well, I'm a writer and an observer of the world. I like to observe the world and then use my observations to formulate stories, to try to explore moral or like logical quandaries or situations. Like that would be probably like my baseline answer. And then I would evolve my answer from there, like depending on how fucking deep down the rabbit hole they wanted to go. Because for me, I think I've always been more interested in what people can do and what they offer and what their skills are and how they treat others than I am anything else. Like I don't give a fuck about really any other attribute of a person.
You mean we should judge people by the content of their character and
Kind
not
of,
on
yeah. Like
the
it's the saying that I really
color
do
of their
like, but I
skin?
feel like, you know, a lot of people get hung up on other things. And so and so it's like, but none of that stuff's really, I think it's because our physical attributes are for the most point irrefutable. Like they just are. It's your genetics. Like there's not much you can do about it. There's things you can change, right? Like I said, you could change your hair, you could wear makeup, you could diet better, exercise, not do any of that stuff, get really fat. There are things that you can affect, but like for the most part, a lot of that's kind of determined for you based off of who your mom and dad decided to hook up with and then spit you out through the vagina. And so and so like that's how I think I would answer the question, like on a baseline level.
So you are what you do in the world,
For me, yes.
for better or worse.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So who are you? What have you done in the world?
Like I said, I think I am I am
This is an
a
interview.
writer and an observer, and I like to like view the world and then try to understand it through my own writing. And I am a genuinely kind person that likes to joke around a lot, but I am also very private and conservative with my personal life.
Okay.
I don't
guarded.
like to let a lot of people into my personal space.
Personal space.
Just because I
Mhm.
do not enjoy, I have a belief that the more and more people that you have involved in your life, typically the more drama adds to it. And it's just, and then that's something that I'm not as interested in. So I'm very particular about people that I choose to get close to. And I think a lot of relationships in life are pretty fleeting. So it's like, I don't want to waste energy on fleeting relationships that won't matter. But how would you answer the question in a quick summation, sort of like I did, like just a kind of after now that we've sort of
this is what I would
explored
do.
the question.
This is what I would do.
little
I
bit
would
more.
say, well, when it comes to one's identity, we should first start with the big 5 personality traits.
Yes.
Let's start with the first trait, which is openness. Openness is a characteristic that includes imagination and insight. These people have an eagerness to learn and experience new things and is particularly high for this personality trait. It leads to having a broad range of interests and being more adventurous when it comes to decision making. So this is like, how creative are you? How open are you to new ideas? How good are you with like uncertainty and chaos and stuff like that? I would say that I am actually not as open as I wish I was. I wish I was more open. I wish I was more like unjudgmental. I wish I was more creative, those kinds of things. I think I'm fairly open when it comes to my own like learning. Like I love to learn new things. I've had lots of like, I've learned how to play pool. I've learned how to shoot guns. I've learned how to play the guitar. I think that's a level of openness that I'm willing to take on these new things as I go through time. But I'm not open to like certain moral philosophies. I'm not open to a certain lack of law abidingness. I have kind of like a lack of openness to that level of chaos. When people drive weird on the road, I'm not open to that.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's a balance of it depends when it comes to that particular trait. The next trait is conscientiousness, which is a trait that includes high levels of thoughtfulness, impulse control, goal directed behaviors, which I think I'm also not as conscientious as I'd like to be. And I certainly was way less conscientious in my youth. I used to smoke cigarettes. I used to like not make my bed. I used to like not care like who I was around or what I was like. I had no goals. I think conscientiousness is like wiggled its way into me as I grow up and start to become more mature and start to want things that I might be able to get as I get more experience in life. And I now am much more conscientious than I used to be. Like I actually like do the dishes every day and I organize things and I like things to be fairly neat and clean. And I like rules for the most part. But I'm also hesitant of hierarchies and power structures over my head. So I'm balance those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
I also believe in accepting chaos and accepting entropy and accepting a certain level of like, we're all going to die anyway. And so my conscientiousness is kind of like shoved down sometimes so that I can like just get drunk. Sometimes, pretty rarely nowadays, but it used to be much more. The next trait is extraversion. I'm not an extrovert. You're not an extrovert. We all know this. We don't need to go into that one. We're introverts. We mostly enjoy being by ourselves or with like, you know, more kind of intimate partners, not necessarily like sexual, but like people you really trust, as opposed to enjoying being around strangers, enjoying parties, enjoying big groups of people. I don't enjoy that. Agreeableness is the next one. This is like how trusting you are, how altruistic you are, how kind you are, affectionate. I think I would rate pretty low on agreeableness, but much higher than I think. I think that I'm very like independent and I wouldn't go with the crowd, but I think I kind of do go with the crowd a lot of the time. And I'm also like, I tend to go on the side of like trusting people. Like I've let I've let people like convince me that they're good people and then they end up stealing from me.
Yeah.
Literally. And so I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. I tend to think on the somewhat optimistic side, and I tend to want to go out of my way to help people, like to open a door, to pick up a piece of trash for them, or you like the other day I walked a dude around with he needed a wheelchair, and so I gave him one, and then I walked him around with it. And I think that I could have, just got somebody else to do it or something, or just said, we don't have a wheelchair that works or something. That would be a little unethical, but, and then neuroticism is another trait, which I think I weirdly am less neurotic than I've ever been, but I'm still tend toward neuroticism. And I had major anxiety and neuroticism and moodiness and sadness when I was younger, up until, probably the last 10 years. I still have lots of neurotic thoughts and self-doubt and things like that. But I've grown to either suppress or improve those areas. So I think actually personality traits are useful in the concept of knowing who you are, but that's again one of those kind of like scientific-y kind of ways to answer the question, as opposed to like I think a lot of people would go spiritual, like straight up like, who are you? Well, I'm like, I'm in the image of God, or I'm a being of light, or I'm just energy, which is my least favorite concept in the world, because it doesn't say anything at all. It's kind of like, if you believe in
being of energy, bro.
Yeah,
when I die, my energy is going to transfer into the world.
Yeah, and that gives you the option to like have ghosts and fucking, but
we
you can't
talked about this.
Goblins. Yeah,
that was the only reason why I could believe in ghosts, is following the train of thought as far as energy.
Yeah,
not being able to be created or destroyed but transferred. That's
what they really mean is consciousness, not energy. They mean the consciousness moves on and isn't embodied or physical, which is a dualism, but yeah, I think it's an interesting question, but you kind of have to like, you can't think about who I am all the time. You just have to live, and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe sometimes you go back and you look, because you need stuff to look at before you can say who you are.
Yeah.
You have to live, and then you can look back and say who you are. You can't always be looking at who you are. You'll never do anything. When you're, trying to make a decision and you're just constantly going, oh, am I the kind of person that does this? Am I the kind of person that does that? That's not actually how it works. I also don't think that we have nearly as much free will and control as we'd like to think, or as much as we justify later.
Yeah.
I think
Well, I
free
thought
will
that's
is
part of learning to be objective with yourself. Is it's like,
what have you actually
if
done?
somebody broke into your house right now, what would you do? I feel like a lot, you would like to think that you'd be like, oh, get out of my
Sure.
house, blah, blah, blah.
When you don't know until it happens.
But it's like, and then I try to place myself in that situation, like mentally. And I'm like, if somebody broke into my house right now, I would be scared. And I would, my dog would be fucking destroying them first off. But my dog wasn't here. I would be scared, and I would be like, what do you want? Like, can I get, like,
you just
I would be trying to figure out the
put your butt toward them.
least confrontational way to get the person out of my house, because
Sure.
I am not a
probably
confrontational person.
You'd submit to them or run.
Well, I mean,
And
I
you
would
can't
submit
really
to them, I
run.
guess, if they had a weapon, if they came in with like a gun.
Well, we're assuming they're breaking in to rob you, not just to fucking like scare you.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, I gotta go. Trick or treat.
But I would probably be very,
Sure.
I mean, but again, like you said, it's hard to know until you're in the situation, because there's a lot of factors, like, what does the person look like? How threatening do they appear? Do they seem intoxicated or hot? You know what I mean? Because it's like, these are all little factors that might change your decision. Like, if it's a smaller person that you feel like confident you could overpower, then you might
just laugh at them.
Yeah. Then you might try to like find an opportunity to overpower them. But if it's somebody who's very intimidating and you're like, fuck, I have no physical chance in hell of standing up to this individual, then you're obviously probably going to be more submissive. But I feel like part of knowing yourself, like when I think about that, would be, well, I'm not a confrontational person, so I would probably be trying to do what I could to appease the person, just to get them out of my place as quickly as possible, even if it means that they steal a bunch of my shit or my money or whatever. Like, as long as they just
comply
in peace. Yeah.
Well, that's like those people with the do not comply hats and shirts and stuff. I think that in certain, like, it might be easy to not comply with a mask mandate, but you might comply with a guy with a gun. So just saying do not comply might not be the whole story.
If the military for some reason showed up at your house with an assault rifle, you're probably gonna comply.
Well, maybe
a lot of people pretend to be much tougher than they are when they're obviously not.
I think you have to. I think men especially have to pretend they're tough. And most men are not that tough in America today. Now, back in the day, maybe men were tougher than they are now.
But see, that's something I like to admit about myself, is like, I'm not a tough person. I've never really been in a fight in my life. I'm not interested in fighting. I would much rather talk things out with people. And like I said, avoid confrontation. So I'm a very beta, as we've established in this show. Kind of person. So.
We've talked about that. What's interesting, and I was trying to think of things that like are true about myself that I wouldn't necessarily know unless I observed myself in the past, right? And one of the things that I have observed is that in moments of crisis, I am more brave than I think that I am. I actually have had circumstances where, like, I've had to kick people out of the store. I've had circumstances where I've had people try to get into the store that aren't supposed to be in there, and I had to literally like put a shopping cart between me and them, and they were screaming at me. And I've had people, like, honestly, living in Portland, I've had to directly encounter criminals, crazy people, and potentially violent, in a couple instances, actual violent situations. And I've never found myself to be so afraid or so timid that I didn't deal with it in at least some capacity. I never ran away from those circumstances. Not yet. I'm sure there are certain, and I hope I do run away if the circumstances are too incredible or too outlandish or something. But I've stood my ground against a lot of a lot of situations, and that's not who I saw myself as when I was growing up, because I used to get picked on a lot, and I used to get I've always been small, and I got beat up by my brother so much that I always thought of myself as like very weak and very very like easy victim. And I've found that that's just not actually true. It's I think I get off a little bit on just being like, fuck you. Hit me in the face. I don't give a fuck. And I don't know how to fight, particularly well. I haven't been trained. I've hit a punching bag a time or two, and I'm physically fit enough that I could if I learned how to do it better. But I think part of getting away from certain situations as a man is by being confident enough to just say, I'm going to deal with this regardless. Like I might lose, but I'm not giving you the satisfaction of intimidating me to the level that you're trying. Now, I have been in certain circumstances where I chose not to confront someone because they're literally like 400 pounds and 6'7". Like I had a dude the other day come into the store. He didn't want to wear a mask, and he didn't he just like was kind of terse with us when he came in. He was kind of like, we were like, hey, how you doing? And he was like, oh, mostly homicidal, and then he just sort of walked in. I was like, I'm not going anywhere near that fucking dude. He was, I mean, he was humongous, huge dude. And he's just an asshole.
Was it like muscular or like McDonald's lover? Obese.
Like really fat, but definitely muscular, but really fat as well. Like he wasn't like obese and like, I'm not afraid of that. Like if I was about to say, like, there, like it's
funny, like muscular
he could probably run. Like this dude could
fat
run.
People don't intimidate me at all. I'm like, you're a fucking fat piece of shit. You probably can't even climb a flight of stairs.
This is like hick fat. Like he drinks all night and he like does farm shit all day. Like you don't want to fuck with this guy. Although I think he's mostly posturing. I think he actually is like a pussy, but he would fight you, like, because he's just so big. He's able to do it with most people. But if you knew how to fight, you'd probably take him no problem. But I'm not gonna like try to figure that out. And I also was like, just because he's being a dick doesn't mean I even have to care. Like I don't have to go out of my way to do almost anything like that. And he wasn't doing anything all that weird. He was just kind of like portraying this whole like, don't fuck with me, I'm a big dude. Which,
well, he was probably used to people hassling him about not wearing a mask, so he he probably comes in hot just to try to avoid right away being confronted about that.
And he's kind of like daring you, like, you're gonna tell me not to fucking do something, good luck with that. And it's like at this point, it's late. I don't give a fuck. You can go buy your stuff. I'm not worried about you. If you want to steal something, you could probably get away with it. You're humongous. Like I don't have a gun. I can't shoot you over, protecting property of someone else's. So anyway, there's always exceptions, and I'm not particularly trying to get in any fights, but I have noticed that there have been situations where I just had to take charge and try to do the right thing in the moment, and it was not running away.
I feel like a lot of people, that's true for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are more brave than they give themselves credit, because I've been in situations where I feel like for me, my go-to is like I turn off like my emotions whenever I'm in a stressful situation, dealing with like a patient, or like when I used to work retail. It's like I just sort of have like a straight face, because I don't want to give them the impression, like you were saying earlier, that they're intimidating me. So it's like I just go into like a logic mode. I'm like, okay, what's the solution to get this situation dealt with in the quickest, least confrontational way? And obviously that doesn't always work out. Sometimes people cannot be pleased no matter what you're trying to do. And so, I mean, I've been in situations where I feel like I've had to step up because it's only me, like where I work right now, it's me and another woman that work up at the front. And so sometimes I step in, and it's probably a more chivalrous or sexist viewpoint,
But it's like if we have a dude come in and he's being inappropriate with my female coworker, then I step in because I'm like, I have to step into this now because
Yep.
she shouldn't have to be dealing with this. And I feel like I'm a more intimidating presence than she is. And so it's like with certain patients, it's like I'm going to deal with this patient because I don't want you to have to deal with this person.
Sure.
And they're not going to give me
well,
the
and
same
who would you
shit
be?
that-
Who would you be if you didn't help out your coworker?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who they are. Like, even if that was a dude, if they're the one who's getting picked on or bullied and they're just not doing anything, you can just sit there and not do anything as well, or you can try to protect them a little bit.
Mhm.
And I think people should try to protect each other. And men are typically more intimidating, even if they aren't actually that intimidating.
Yeah.
And other men are afraid of other men more than women for the most part.
Well, and I feel like a lot of men too
it's the way
have kind of like a protective instinct over women. You know what I mean? Like if you're in like a situation with an aggressor, I feel like men typically are more willing to kind of step in the way if the person that's being aggressed against is a female. And I mean that's probably just like a primal level thing where, you know, where we just push out our chests and like to defend people of the opposite sex. I don't know. But I feel like that's true for a lot of cases as well. Like if it's a man being aggressive towards a woman, I feel like you would find that more men would probably step into that situation to stop it from happening than if it was like two women going at each other. I feel like you wouldn't see as many men step into it. They'd be like, let this bitch just fight it out. Or
That
if it's like
happens
a
all the time.
female coming after a man, I don't really know if another man would necessarily step into that situation. I almost feel like you'd see more women stepping into it if it was a female aggressor.
Yeah, it depends. It all depends. Like if a woman comes and attacks your wife, you're probably gonna help your wife. Like fuck.
Oh
that
yeah,
bitch.
yeah.
Fucking
I
knock
guess
her out.
I'm more
Like, who
looking
gives
at
a
it
fuck?
from like the perspective of just being in public, and then you see a confrontation.
Well, and there's a lot of
unfolding.
cultural
Yeah.
stuff around all of that, and there's legal stuff around it too. But yeah, two women fighting, I'm not getting in the middle of that until it
Mhm.
starts getting crazy.
Yeah.
But it's just not the way it goes. I'm going to be looked at as an asshole for, because I'll end up hurting somebody, or something like that, or I'll end up getting hurt, and then I'm a pussy.
Yeah.
I don't want that either. So you
All
just
those
let that
social
happen.
constructs, right?
But
Yeah,
there's
you
also
can't-
like, if a man starts fighting another man and that dude is obviously not capable of defending themselves, like you should probably step in. Like there's this, like either you want to be the hero or you don't, or you want to be and you don't step up, and you'll find out.
Yeah.
Just keep living life, and eventually you'll find out more and more who you are. And at some point you might have to be like, I don't like that, and I want to do something different next time. So maybe I'll
Mhm.
take some lessons, or maybe I'll give myself a hard enough time about it, and so then next time I'll remember to do more, or next time I'll just maybe come up with a strategy, like think about the situation differently or something. But you genuinely don't know all the different scenarios that might occur in your life, and sometimes they are very frightening or
Yeah.
very confusing. Like you're like, I don't know who the killer is, and I got to kill somebody. Like I'm in a room, I just heard a gunshot, there's a dead person on the ground. Is the person a good guy or a bad guy in front of you? You don't
Yeah.
know. But they're pointing a gun at you, and you're pointing a gun at them, and it's a Tarantino movie, and it's fun.
Wow.
But
I went places.
I don't know, dude.
So anyway,
But yeah,
I
lots
would
of different
encourage
things.
everybody listening to just ruminate on the question. Do you know who you are? Who are you? It's a complex answer, and it's an answer that you would spend a lot of time.
What's your social security
exploring? Number? Yeah. Also, yeah.
And send it to
an email to us with your
podcast
social security number and bank account numbers.
Yeah, it's part of who you are, and we're trying to get to know you a little better.
But
yeah,
I feel like
it's a good question.
It's healthy for your own self-awareness. I feel like too, to just sometimes stop and like try to deeply think about yourself, not in like a selfish or conceited way, but just to like sort of almost look at yourself from the outside objectively, and like try to explore who you are, and maybe some things that you would like to change about yourself that you have the power to change. So I feel like it's easy, especially for people, who work full-time jobs and you're just in the motions and you're just doing the same things all the time. I feel like it's easy to sort of get caught up and not really knowing what's going on or paying attention to what you're doing.
I think that a lot of people are not introspective or self-critical, or and maybe they are subconsciously, and maybe they are, but there's no acceptance and admittance of the truth, and so
Mhm.
they're in denial about who they are. And I think that creates a lot of psychological problems, a lot of dissonance, a lot of issues, um and honestly, like not accepting who other people are, like your parents. And that can be a type of denial that changes how you think about yourself. Are you the kind of person that accepts this type of behavior from other people? Because you know, in admitting who you are, you might have to admit that somebody else is like that too. So it gets pretty complicated,
Mhm.
um, because then you're being critical of humans in a way that is a little more objective, compared to an ideal that you have to then judge yourself and others by. And that can mean being very upset at yourself and others. And what do you do with that? You know, you have to come up with some strategies to overcome that kind of negativity, because it becomes very judgmental and very um, kind of ego shattering, and potentially like relationship shattering. And um, I think the strategy that I would recommend would be honesty, and um, and having a type of compassion for yourself to become better, and then a type of empathy for other people, that they can make mistakes, but also holding yourself to a high standard and other people to a high standard, so that you aren't treated poorly, walked all over, and you don't treat yourself poorly and walk all over yourself.
Mhm.
um, it's kind of balancing like a line between what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept in yourself and others. And that's a type of development that takes a lot of work, and potentially counseling and help and communication and
Well, it's something you have to
expression. And
constantly work at. It's not like you can just have a oneness and then it's that way forever. It's
yeah,
like,
and
it's something it's
like
an
a
ever evolving process.
yeah, and it's can be very difficult, and it is a daily thing to kind of um to try to be kind of accepting of who you are, and then maybe try to work on yourself. But you kind of have to accept, like, you know, I ate that fucking pizza earlier. I'm the kind of person that just eats some pizza sometimes, and I'm also the kind of person who takes a break from pizza and eats salads.
Mhm.
You know, that's acceptable to
Well,
me.
if it's already something you've done, it's like sometimes the best thing is to be like, okay, that, was a mistake, but what can I do now to make that better?
Yeah. How can
Because
I
if it's
work on
something that's
mine?
already been done, there's nothing you can do to change it now. All you can do is learn from it and then make a better decision next time.
Yeah. Or work on trying to understand what happened and what you can
Mhm.
do. I think you get into habits, and you get into you have reactions, and sometimes you don't know what those are going to be. And so by working on understanding those things and what you want to have happen, you can maybe make it happen in the future.
Mhm.
But yeah, let's wrap it up.
Let's
B,
wrap it up with what's your you got a recommendation?
I think I came up with one. It's
Oh, did
called,
you?
you know what? I only started watching it today, so maybe I'll regret this recommendation in the future,
Okay.
but I probably will forget about it. It's the show on Hulu that just came out, or maybe it's Netflix. God damn it. It's one of the two. It's called Murderville with
Murderville. Nice.
let me look it up here. Murderville. It just came out like a couple days ago. Um, it is Netflix, and it is starring, I believe, is it Will Arnett? Yes, Will Arnett, and a couple of other good comics. But it is very unique in that it's essentially a whodunit, where there's a celebrity guest every time, and the celebrity guest does not have a script. And so they go into the situation not knowing what to expect, and there's a whole scenario going on around them, and there's all these improvisers who are kind of reacting to the celebrity person, and the celebrity person is trying to figure out who did the murder. And Will Arnett is like the main detective guy. He walks everyone through it, and it's fucking great. It's super funny. They just get into these odd scenarios. They had Conan O'Brien on the first episode, and they have him just eating like sloppy joes with tons of hot sauce on it, and then they have him talk afterward, like, so he has to kind of like maneuver these like obstacles that they put in his way, these improv obstacles.
Yeah.
And I love improv, so I was laughing from it. I thought it was great. It was just like absurdist, silly situations.
I'll have to check that out because I love improv stuff too. I remember reading something about it because I just remember like them talking about Will Arnett doing a murder mystery whodunit thing.
But
I didn't realize it was like an improv thing. I thought it was like a scripted show.
I know, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, I love Will Arnett. He's great. And I listened to his podcast, Smartless, with him and Jason Bateman and oh, what is his name? He's a guy from Will and Grace, one of the guys from Will and Grace. All three of them do a really good podcast called Smartless. It's an interview podcast. But I loved Will Arnett in Arrested Development.
Yeah.
And everything else. He's great.
And everything else. Everything he's in.
I've never watched a Lego movie, but I love him in Lego Batman as Batman.
Well, there's not a whole lot of Lego. There's like 3 Lego movies if you count the Batman one, I guess.
But I've never seen any of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because he's in the first Lego movie, like just the Lego movie. I don't remember if he's in the second one or not. I only watched the second one once.
If Batman's in it, he's the Batman.
Yeah,
in all the Lego
I just can't remember
movies.
if Batman's in it or not, but
probably
he does a good job.
I guess I meant the Lego, whatever DC movies they made, right? Like they did Lego Batman or something.
Yeah, they did one Lego Batman movie that came out after the Lego movie.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a spin-off of that where it was just about him doing stuff.
Being all daddy.
That's pretty fun.
Anyway, that's what I recommend.
My recommendation is a movie. It came out a little while ago, but it just came out on HBO Max and I think Hulu, or maybe just HBO Max. I watched it on HBO Max, but it's Nightmare Alley.
Oh, it's on
the
Hulu
new
now.
Guillermo del Toro film, and it's fucking good. It's kind of it's a slow burn, and it's a lot different than his other movies, in terms of like, it's not a supernatural film at all. Because like I feel like Del Toro is known for doing like a supernatural, whether it's ghosts or some kind of mythical type of creature or something in his films, and that's really what he's known for. This is just like a straight psychological thriller that is about a guy who gets involved early on in the film with traveling circus, and he, like, while he's there helping out for money, he kind of starts learning different tricks of the trade, like how to do fortune telling and make it seem like you're an actual fortune teller, or that magic, and things like that. And then he ends up taking what he learns and going and kind of starting his own act somewhere else. And it's about him kind of just getting deeper and deeper into it. Like he starts taking on really high-end clients that pay him a lot of money, and then one of them ends up kind of being not like a mafia, but like kind of like underground, like criminal type guy, and it starts kind of getting out of control for him. But it's a really well done movie, and it has it's such a great ending. But yeah, it's a slow burn, and it's kind of it's a pretty like dour and depressing film. Like there's not a lot of levity in it. It's a very like
dark.
Yeah, it's pretty dark. But it's cool. It was cool to see Del Toro do something different in terms of it. Like I was waiting for some sort of supernatural twist or something at some point, or I was like, oh man, they're gonna make it seem like the people in the circus are pretending to be psychic, but they really are. I was waiting for something like that, like some magical element, and it's not. It's just a completely honest, like grounded, realistic look at like circus performing, the illusions and tricks that they use, how they use observation to tell fortunes and things like that. It's really cool. Like it's a cool kind of deconstruction of that art, and then follows a very it kind of reminds me of a story like Breaking Bad, where it's just like they just keep going deeper and deeper in the rabbit hole to the point where you're like, this is not going to end well for them because they're too deep in now. There's no going back, kind of a thing. But yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
You should I recommend people watch it.
Yeah,
out.
I really like Guillermo del Toro. And I like
Bradley Cooper does a great job.
I think he's a great actor.
He does a great job in that movie. Kate Blanchett does a great job.
Blanchett?
Yeah, there's a lot of pretty well-known performers in it.
I just have to be in the mood to watch something like depressing and dark all by myself.
Yeah.
I know my mom was like really interested in watching it, so maybe I'll watch it with her at some point.
Yeah, it's not like it's not depressing like you're gonna cry. It's just like when it's over, you're like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
And then
not Righteous Gemstones, just what was the one with Adam Sandler? Was it just called Gemstones?
No, Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. Like that one is just like a roller coaster, just down, 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 down.
Yeah,
it just gets darker. Or he gets deeper in the hole, deeper in the hole, deeper in the hole. And then by the end, you're like, God damn, that was hard to like stomach.
That movie gave me like, I was having like anxiety watching it because it just seemed like every scene was people in a room just yelling at each other, and you're like, what the?
That's New York,
who can
dude.
live their life like this? I like. Just my fucking heart rate up right now just watching this shit unfold.
The pacing and editing in it was so good that the tone tells a lot of the story, and it's very well done. I love a movie with good like editing and subtle tone, like the actual visual editing, the music, everything that is like not the language of not the acting about necessarily.
Like a movie like Uncut Gems is like there's not really much of a plot. It's just watching like this, the art of how they put that film together and everything is what makes it like so watchable.
Yeah,
but it's a movie I'll probably never watch
simple,
again.
But
I watched it once and I'm like,
I don't want to watch
good,
it again.
And I will probably never watch it again because it's too stressful.
For sure. Did you like Jackass? Oh, you're going to see that tonight?
No, we're going to tonight. Yeah, in a couple hours.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, I like the other Jackass movies. It's fun just watching people do stupid shit that I would never do.
So. Yeah, this one looks pretty funny. I mean, I think they've gotten better at nailing the entertainment part of the horrific stuff. Like I find a lot of their stuff just like not entertaining because it's just gross.
Yeah.
But I think now they have enough money and enough experience and enough whatever that almost everything I watched seemed like it would be entertaining. There's some like multi-stage things going on. It's not just,
and I feel like it's kind of their last hurrah. So I feel like it's going to be really good because they probably really wanted to give it their all. Because they like, I mean, a lot of those guys like Johnny Knoxville and stuff. Those guys are like in their 40s and 50s now. It's like they physically are not.
When he does regular movies, he shouldn't be trying to hurt himself.
Yeah.
But Steve-O, like this is his whole thing. He needed this shit. I mean, he doesn't anymore.
He does like a podcast.
He does
now
other
that's
stuff
like pretty
now,
big, but. I wasn't like super set on watching the movie, like watching it right away. Like it's a movie that I could wait and watch whenever it like came out on like streaming or whatever. But Vanessa really wanted to go, and we haven't gotten to the movies recently. There hasn't been a whole lot of really great stuff coming out lately. It's kind of been slow. So,
but you know what is coming out?
The Batman,
Elden Ring.
That too. Oh yeah, it's really close. I already got that shit pre-ordered on my. PS5.
Are you playing Dying Light at all?
I'm gonna start it actually. Probably.
You have it.
I'm gonna try to get an hour or two in before we go to
Dying Light 2. Yeah, I'm gonna wait on that one because I've heard there's a lot of glitches, especially on the PS4 version. So I'm gonna wait. Until get some patches going, and I don't know. I'm kind of just like.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be amazing. I think it's just going to be a pretty like you kind of know what you're getting into, and I think it'll be fun. But I am not expecting like some groundbreaking fucking mesmerizing thing. It's more of just like a time killer until Elden Ring comes out.
That's kind of why.
And then the new Horizon comes out this month too, which I hate that Horizon Forbidden West comes out and then literally the next week it's Elden Ring. So it's like fuck, why are all these games so fucking close together?
You don't have to buy them.
I do, but I really want to play both of them. I've been looking.
But you can play them literally like in 2 months. You can just like play them.
No, I know. I'm just
like you're not gonna
zeitgeist, you know. You just want to be fucking involved in it. I just wish that it's like one came out and then I had like a couple weeks to just play through it, you know. And then because my problem is I don't want to spend a week playing Horizon, then Elden Ring comes out, right? And then like suddenly Elden Ring, I just get obsessed with it, and then I like completely
Just
forget
don't get
about
Horizon and then play Elden Ring until you're sick of Elden Ring, and then you'll have Horizon, this wonderful new game to
Yeah,
play,
I don't
instead
have
of
that much
being sick of
self-control.
it. I know you don't.
I already pre-ordered all 3 of them, so
I know
it's
they're
too
just
late.
going to
It's too late
download,
for me. It's
but they're
all
going
the
to
money
download. You don't
spent.
have to play it, because the problem with RPGs is that you can't leave them and then come back
That's
and
the
know what's
problem.
going
Yeah.
on. Even Dying Light, you'd be like, well, what mission was I doing? Like, what was I trying to like get the certain weapon? So, but I guess you have more time with that one. But I only
Dying
play
Light,
like
I got a couple weeks. I'm hoping I can at least like finish the main story or something of Dying Light in the next couple of weeks, depending on how much time I have with it. But we'll see.
What's cool about Elden Ring is that it's cross-platform, so I can play or between the PS5 and PS4, we can play.
Oh, is it? Okay,
Yep.
cool. Because I know Dying Light's not. They were like, it's
Yeah, a
like
lot of them
locked to
aren't.
whatever console. So I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. Because
Yeah.
like I could have, if you were picking up Dying Light 2 on the PS4, like we could have played it together. But they were like, no,
Yeah.
only PS5 can play with PS5. I was like, ah, fuck. Never mind.
At least I heard it was because Joey, my buddy, got a PS5 recently.
Oh, hey,
fucking fucker,
finally got it.
And he's getting it on that, and I'm getting it on PS4 because I mean, I want a PS5, but I can't. I don't want to even deal with the like going on the PlayStation thing. And
Honestly,
asking for it
yeah.
and all this.
If I were you, like, I mean,
I'm just gonna wait until I have the money, and I
Yeah.
don't need it. I'll just get Elden Ring on the PS4, and then I can upgrade later.
yeah.
if
Well,
I
it'll give
feel
you an
like it.
excuse to like replay it again later. Because I mean, you'll really be able to enjoy it. But if you replay it on PS5. But yeah, I was having a hard time deciding whether I wanted to get Elden Ring on the Series X or the PS5. I was like, ooh, which one? But I ended up going PS5 because I played all the other Souls games on PS5. It just kind of feels right, feels at home.
Well, and then we can play it together.
Yeah, that too. Which and then Dying Light I picked up on the Xbox. First person games just play better on Xbox. The controller, I don't know what it is. They just feel more at home on the Xbox. But yeah.
Nice. All right, let's wrap it up. Thanks everybody for listening. Go to joesnotesblog.com, go to amazon.com and look up Channing Cornwall. He's got a couple books coming out this year. We'll know.
I'm almost done.
I'm
almost done writing that one.
You'll know when we know. I'll know when you know.
Right. Sometime.
And then
everybody
also,
write a letter to my wife and tell her to hurry up and finish editing. That's what I'd say.
Write to fleetingthoughtspodcast.com and say, hey, Channing's wife, get
hurry
on
the fuck
it.
up. You're slowing things up.
I'm glad. I think editing should take a while.
Yeah, I'm not really rushing her. I mean, she does it for free, basically. I'm not like paying her money out of our bank account. I mean,
a little weird.
I guess I could take money out of our account and give it to her and say thanks, and then she could go put it back in the bank. I don't know.
Pay her with that sweet hog. Just say that, like while you're having sex. Thank you for the editing.
This is payment for the edits.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm a beta.
So you should probably get on top because
yeah,
like being up here.
Do I have permission to fuck you?
Hey, whoa! You should definitely get consent from anybody before you try to fuck them.
From anybody?
yeah. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. Be like, hey, you cool with this? Are we down? Charlie Brown?
Well, if she slaps you, you probably maybe back off.
No, okay. But what if that's their thing?
You'll know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you gotta know.
You'll
read the room.
Yeah, read the room.
Yeah. And if there's a room full, you're having a good time. All right. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.